of thinking from a candidate's perspective, start thinking from an HR perspective. Think of a scenario where you have two resumes. There are 4 important parameters to consider. Just to add on to that, it is very important to mention GitHub URL. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Vikas, Sahu and I'm a software engineer too at JPMC Chase. और आज की इस वीडियो में हम बात करने वाले हैं about the common mistakes that people make in their resume. We are also going to analyze my resume that helped me getting calls from many tech giants. So without any further delays, let's get started. So the first thing that you have to do is, instead of thinking from a candidate's perspective, start thinking from an HR perspective, who has dozens of resume to review every day. And that would answer most of your questions and would also justify the points that I'm going to cover in this video. The first mistake that people make in their resume is going for a multiple page resume rather than a single page resume. तुम खुद सोच के देखो यार, being a fresher or being someone who has less than 5 years of experience, do you really need more than a single page to note down all your work experience and skills? So I would highly encourage go for a single page resume. Now, should you go for a single column resume or a 2-column resume? That is something that I would leave up to you, but I would suggest that go for a single column resume. The next important thing is to mention all the details in the headers, not just limited to your email ID, phone number, city, but it is equally important to mention LinkedIn profile, GitHub profile, and any website that you might have hosted. Next thing is, should you include a summary in your resume? That is something very subjective. If you have worked on multiple projects or if you have worked on multiple organizations, your overall career is so extensive that you need to summarize it in a point, then go for a summary. I did not include it in my resume because I had been working with a single organization for last 3 years and I did not feel the need of it. The next thing I would mention is avoid having a picture or a photo in your resume. Now coming to the education section, I think mentioning the top 2 level of qualification is enough. If you are someone with BTech degree, you can mention about the BTech and your 12th standard scores. The next section we are going to talk about is the work experience, and I would add extra 2 stars on top of it because this is one of the most crucial part of your resume. So when you are writing down your work experience, there are 4 important parameters to consider. First, roles and responsibilities in that organization. What are roles and responsibilities? Second, functionality. What problem did you solve in that particular organization? Third, how did you solve it? So that brings us to the tech stacks that you have worked on. Last but not the least, outcomes. It's very important to quantify all your outcomes, as in if you have improved the performance by say X%, then you have to mention it. If you have brought down the latency by Y%, then quantify all your outcomes in your work experience section. And make sure that everything aligns perfectly with the role that you are applying for. It shouldn't be like you have mentioned all your points says that you have been a very good backend developer, but you are applying for a data analyst role or data scientist role, and vice versa. The next equally important section is the project section. It's good to have 2 projects in your project section, but अगर तुमने बिल्कुल कुछ तगड़ा सही बना दिया है and there is like you're facing difficulty accommodating 2 projects, then you can go for one as well. Whatever parameters I described for work experiences applies for here as well. First, roles and responsibilities. Second, functionality. Third, tech stack. And fourth, outcome. Just to add on to that, it is very important to mention GitHub URL or your website link if you have hosted it somewhere. Now, why am I emphasizing on having a GitHub URL or hosting your project somewhere is, like, think of a scenario where you have 2 resumes in your hand. Both of them are equally good. Both of them have the skill set that you are looking for. Their work experience is also good. But if you were to choose between them, which one will you pick? So if I were in that place, then I would look for the validation points. If he has hosted his project somewhere, or if he has his GitHub project URL, then I can easily go and validate, right? So that kind of give me an extra validation and extra authenticity that he has worked on that particular project. So it becomes very important to mention the URL of that particular project. The next section is the technical skill section. Make sure that you mention only the skills that are relevant to the job that you are applying for. There is no point of mentioning endless and plenty of skills that are not even relevant to the job you are applying for. Next section is the achievement section. If you have been awarded with any awards in your current organization, or if you think that you have any significant achievement, do note it down in the achievement section. You can also mention the number of DSA problems that you have solved. In addition to that, I have attached URL to my GFG profile. Even you can do the same GFG profile, lead code profile, anything. The next section is the certification section. If you have certifications from a reputed platforms, then do mention it. But just for the sake of mentioning, don't mention anything like that I have done a course from this Coursera or anything like that. Certification to me is only valuable when it comes from a valid source. I have mentioned about AWS certification and HackerRank certification because that is something that you can't just fake it. You have to pass, you have to clear that exam, then only you are given with that particular certificate, not just by completing the course. So instead of going mentioning the course certificate, I would say mention the exam certificates, or should you mention co-curricular activities in your resume. If you are a fresher, you can, but if you are an experienced professional, then there's no point of mentioning co-curricular activities. You can just drop it down. And if you are an experienced professional, then I'm damn sure that you would be lacking with space in a single resume. So you can drop that particular column. Last but not the least, bold all the keywords in your resume. ATS के लिए तो important है ही, but it is important for the recruiter as well. At first glance, they would hardly look at your resume for less than a minute. They are not going to read all the points that you have mentioned. So bolding the keywords sort of gives recruiter an idea of what your profile looks like or what your journey so far has been. So make sure you bold all the important keywords and take the help of ChatGPT or any other AI tool to optimize your point and make it ATS friendly. So that's it from my end. I'm not saying that my resume is the most ideal resume or has very high ATS score, but these are the points that I have heard from many recruiters out there, many of my college friends who are in Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and these points really helped me getting my profile shortlisted. Okay, to me, resume building is an ever-going process. You keep getting better and better with each iteration. So make a note of all these points, and I'm sure this will help you in your job search journey. Keep preparing, keep hustling. See you in the next video.